Now, Eyewitness Sports.
Welcome to episode 49 of Double OT with Mark Dondero, coming to us from the TD Garden where the Bruins are playing the Senators as we tape this. Puck about to drop in Game 4 of that series. I'm in our East Providence studios. Mark, an unbelievably busy sports day with NBA and NHL playoffs, the Pats at the White House, but we of course first start with Aaron Hernandez. You, I'm sure, like me, woke up to the news this morning. What was your reaction?
Well, obviously, Yanni, first things first, I was shocked. I did not think Aaron Hernandez would murder himself, would commit suicide. I thought he embraced thug life, if you will, the life of an outlaw, being in jail even. I thought that was something he could get into, for lack of a better way of putting it. So I was surprised by the news. The second thought I had immediately was I couldn't think of anybody in history, maybe there is, I can't think of anybody that did a better job of throwing away their life, throwing away all of their gifts. And you know, Aaron Hernandez at 20, O.J. Simpson, no, he was older when he got into all the trouble that he got into, at least with the law and being charged with murder. Aaron Hernandez was 23 years old. He got to the Patriots when he was 20. He had Tom Brady in his prime. He had Bill Belichick in his prime. He was poised to do great things, a huge contract, a little girl, a fiance, girlfriend. It is an unbelievable fall. I don't feel bad for this man, but this was just an unbelievable story. I was shocked. I didn't know what to feel. I was angry. I was relieved. It's over.
Yeah, the one word that comes to mind in totality for this whole thing is tragedy, and maybe not specific to him, although maybe a little bit of you feels sorry for what he became, despite the heinous acts he committed. But as you mentioned, I wake up this morning early, with my soon-to-be 3-year-old, and I'm about to put on Peppa Pig and whatever the last channel was on my TV, ESPN. I see it, and I audibly gasped. I said, oh, I mean, it was shocking, shocking, shocking. Similar what to you were saying, I thought Aaron Hernandez embraced the jail life. He had tattooed on his neck lifetime. He seemingly had some street cred in the walls of that jail. And, I think after the double murder, he was acquitted of that. Perhaps, maybe he was thinking, all right, now that that's gone, what do I have to look forward to? I'm still in here for life, despite his lawyer saying that they would appeal the murder of Odin Lloyd. So it's tough to get in the head of a sociopath, but you wonder what would cause him to do that, because everyone around him, friends, family, his lawyers, saying that they were all shocked by this. So ultimately, could he not handle the emotions of it, or does a guy who commits acts like this even have those kind of emotions? Did he do it for the money, because his family can get some outstanding money that he gets, because essentially the Odin Lloyd crime now is wiped out because he never gets the appeal? But utterly shocked, because I thought he kind of relished that he was in jail for life, and he was a star football player, but also a thug, and committed these acts and got off alleged 2 murders, that double murder, and just was on for the Odin Lloyd murder. So obviously a huge fall from grace, a sad story in totality. You read the story, a great column by Dan Wetzel in Yahoo about the moment in which he saw his 4-year-old daughter last week and their exchange, blowing kisses, and now she grows up without a father, and obviously the families of all those that have gone down in the wake of Aaron Hernandez. So just shocking. And, he had all the skills, he had all the tools, he had all the money, and it's just a huge waste. And, years from now, it's going to be, whenever they do a 30 for 30 or any sort of documentary on this, it'll be crazy to see all the people that speak up. And, because he got into his issues, Mark, but I mean, to commit these acts coming from Bristol, Connecticut, 2-parent household, not the worst area in the world, it's just incredible.
I do not buy and I hear what you're saying, but I do not buy the whole he didn't know what else he had to look forward to in jail theory. Who knows why he decided to commit suicide, if that's in fact what it was. With that being said, I don't buy the whole theory that he was murdered. Maybe that did happen. I don't buy it. I think, and again, this is just a shot in the dark based on what we know, I think, and there were reports later in the day that he might have been smoking some synthetic marijuana or whatever, and there was a Bible verse written on his head. I think it was just a bad moment, a bad few hours he was having there in the middle of the night, If he was high, that could have impacted his decision making. He was prone to making bad decisions, as we know. And I think it just happened. I don't think it was planned. I don't think it was thought out. You mentioned being acquitted for the double murder, the exchange with his daughter, heartbreaking for that little girl. I just think it was a spur of the moment, maybe not spur of the moment, but not something that he thought about necessarily for weeks on end.
Right.
Not necessarily. I just feel like it was something he kind of rushed to do and did it, and now we're all talking about it. And it's, as you said, the whole thing, the lives that were impacted.
For such a narcissistic guy, you would think that it's too big of a cowardly move for him just to kind of off himself like that. You'd think that he's in there and he's done these things and he's embraced this outlaw attitude, that he would kind of see it through, and maybe they would have gotten the appeal. So, and you never know. Maybe the heat was coming on him inside the walls. Maybe, it's seemingly like he was well respected in there, but if some, relationships had gone wrong, maybe he was fearing for his own life. I mean, there's a million different theories at this point. So.
Yeah. Right, and I that's why I don't buy the whole thing about the money either. I don't think he would have that in him to sacrifice himself for money for his family. I could be wrong, but I'm not buying that one either. I just think it was a bad few hours. He made a decision, and now here we are. Just incredibly sad. But incredibly unbelievable, too, that this happened on the day that the New England Patriots were visiting the White House to celebrate a world championship that theoretically Aaron Hernandez could have been a part of. His contract, that extension, was set to run out in 2018, so theoretically he could have been still on the team. But nonetheless, the Patriots were there. They went through with their plan. What was your big takeaway from the Patriots' visit with President Trump?
My main takeaway, of course, was that Tom Brady was not there. As recently as yesterday, reports were that he planned on going. We know of the on-again, off-again relationship through the media he has with Trump, dating back to the hat in his locker room, "Make America Great Again." Then Brady non-committal to his relationship with Trump. And in light of him not going to the White House 2 years ago when Obama was in office, I seem to think that all along he didn't really plan on going. Now, I think he has the family stuff. His mother has been battling, a sickness, and he put out an Instagram post. It was their anniversary, but something makes me think that maybe he didn't plan on going all along, and it was just now that he's telling everyone about this. But I thought it was interesting that Donald Trump didn't mention Tom Brady by name. So either Tom Brady called Trump and said, hey, just don't mention me, don't make it about me, make it about the guys there, and so he can remain apolitical. Or Trump was insulted that Brady didn't come to the celebratory party, and he's such a name dropper that Trump was like, I'm not even mentioning Tom Brady. But I thought that was the big storyline. Otherwise, so much was made, Mark, coming into this about guys not going for political reasons with Trump in office, but I thought that wasn't that noteworthy today. And I thought Trump was a little awkward when talking about some of the players that he was name dropping. But all in all, I thought it was, fine. And then the Gronk moment, of course, was funny when he went in on Spicer's press conference. So that was funny. But I think the Brady stuff was the main talking point.
Yeah, Rob Gronkowski busting in on the press secretary. Priceless, beautiful. But yeah, very predictable day, I thought, with President Trump. The comments he made, the love affair with Bill Belichick and Bob Kraft and, all the players he was trying to go through the names. Very predictable, and I didn't have a problem with anything he said. But yeah, Tom Brady not being there surprised me. I thought he would make sure this is his buddy. I don't think for a second he just stood up the president. I think for sure he reached out to President Donald Trump, explained why he wasn't going, offered his support for the whole day, and like you said, probably told him to not make it about him. Don't even mention me. Focus on the guys that are there. And I think the primary reason that Tom Brady was not there, and who knows, I think it was his wife. I think his wife said to him, Tom, no, I don't like you going. I don't think you should go, whether it was about the brand or whatever. I think it was mainly his wife, and we all know that we listen to our wives. We should. I think that's why he didn't go. I don't think his wife thought it was the greatest of ideas, whether it was for his brand, her brand, just the whole look, optics. He didn't go when President Obama was in the house. Just her 2 cents. Whatever the reason, I think she had a heavy say in this. That's just my opinion. And at the end of the day, Tom Brady decided to listen to her, and he didn't go.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's probably what it was. Best to stay away from the politics with all the brands the two of those endorse. Okay, Mark, you are in the TD Garden where the Celtics went 0-2 Sunday and Tuesday, looking like the 8 seed and not the 1 seed in this series with the Bulls. Are they officially melting down, or are you holding out hope for them to turn the series around?
So here's what's going on with the Celtics. They are melting down. But you just mentioned you have a 3-year-old, beautiful 3-year-old, or she will be 3. Paige, I have a 2-year-old going on 3, little Maeve. They melt down. Maeve melts down for stupid reasons sometimes, but she melts down. And when she does melt down, it never lasts long. And 5 minutes later, she could be fine and sweet and cute again. That's the Boston Celtics right now. They're melting down. It's bad right now. But in 5 minutes, they could get it together. They could be back up and looking good again. And I expect, listen, this is a 1 versus 8. I know Chicago has the names. I know Dwayne Wade has brought it, and he, even last year, elevated his game in the playoffs, 21.6 points per game during the playoffs last year. He had 22 the other night. Jimmy Butler, maybe the best player on the court, and Rondo looks like the Rondo that Celtics fans remember, unfortunately. With all of that, I still think the Celtics go there. I just refuse to believe as a 1 seed, despite Brad Stevens being 2-10 in the playoffs, I don't think they're going to just roll over. They're going to go to Chicago. They're going to produce. They're going to get something done, and eventually they'll find a way to make this a series. I just don't believe that they're going to go over there and get swept or lose in 5 to the 8 seed. I don't buy it.
Yeah, I think their team is too mentally tough, and they've had too good of a season just to roll over and die. And I think, as Isaiah Thomas goes to the services of his deceased sister who passed away in that car accident and then joins the team, I think maybe a little bit of closure for that. I mean, how stressful and agonizing of a few days he and his teammates as he's trying to play basketball and work out, 3,000 miles away when the funeral for his sister is going to be. So I think maybe they rally around that in some respects. And I'm not exactly afraid of the United Center in Chicago. I think despite not winning there all year, the Celtics can go there, get a win, but they need a breakout performance from someone not named Isaiah Thomas. Can Al Horford just give me 25 points once this whole season? He's making $19 million a year. Marcus Smart hasn't had a
7 points the other night.
Marcus Smart hasn't had a very good season. Someone needs to do something offensively. Avery Bradley, it's such a task for them just to score, Mark, other than Isaiah doing kind of an ISO thing. So many backdoor cuts and picks and perfect passes for them to score. And you see Chicago sort of just scoring at will with their main guys like Butler and Wade hitting shots. So right now, they need to get it going offensively, maybe have a little more toughness, need to rebound the ball. Every asset of the game, they're getting outplayed. I think they make this a series, but I think Chicago ends up winning. I initially had Celtics in 6. Now I'm going to say Bulls in 6.
And somebody please help out Isaiah. For crying out loud, the guy's going through hell.
Right.
And nobody's there to pick him up. Nobody's there to step up. Let's go. Marcus Smart, he's playing hard. That's fine. Then he's flicking off fans. It's just, you got to get on the same page. People are yelling at each other. Al Horford, as you said, I don't want to say invisible. He had 11 rebounds. Hooray.
He's an intangible
guy. Do
guy.
something more, please.
He's getting paid like a superstar, and he's an intangible guy, which can't be the case.
At best, at this point. So that's disappointing. We'll see. Game 3 of that series is on Friday. The Bruins, meanwhile, down 2-1. Now, they've lost tough games. They've lost difficult games at the end of the game and have had no luck in overtime. Can they turn it around?
Yeah, because of the 2 losses, they were both in overtime and they were both close. I think this is a really evenly matched series. You see these runs, which have kind of been atypical. 3-0 for the Ottawa in Game 3, and then the Bruins score 3, and then they go in overtime, obviously just underway a few feet from you at the TD Garden. But I think they make this a series. I think this is going to be one of those classic 7-game series where maybe another game or 2 go into overtime. I don't think that 1-3-1 neutral zone has been that big of a factor. And, the Bruins are getting contributions from an array of different people. You saw Pasternak score the other day, but you saw Rhode Island's own Nola Chari getting on board. And, I think Bergeron and specifically Marchand need to step up, meaning Marchand, would he score 40-some-odd goals I think he needs a 2 or 3 goal game this series to get them a critical win.
Yeah, he did have the game winner in Game 1, so that was nice. But
right.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see him explode 2 or 3 goals. That's huge if he could do that in the playoffs. Yeah, I think they'll be able to find a way to get back in this series, maybe even win this series. What they did really quickly in those first 2 games, they were able to erase the stench of losing 4 games to the Senators during the regular season. That was out the window.
Right.
Now the new thing that they have to deal with is believing something good will happen at the end of these games, because they've had leads, they've blown leads, they've lost. They, were down 3-0, they come back, they lose. Now that game 1 was great because they came back and won in the third period. So they have that to hold on to, but that's getting a little bit in the past now, so they have to find a way to reassert themselves and get their confidence back. I like Bruce Cassidy. I still believe in what he's doing. I think he could be an X factor. Obviously, Game 4, the one that's going on right now, is huge. But yeah, I think that the Bruins will be able to find a way to turn it around and get a win and get back in this series, maybe even win this series, which a week and a half ago we might have been surprised to say.
All right, let's circle back to the Patriots for our final topic. The draft is just a week away. Malcolm Butler signed his tender, so we're waiting on the trade here. This situation should be resolved in the next week or 2, we hope. Pats extended James White yesterday. They signed the running back from the Bills, whose name is escaping me, Gillislee. And
Mike Gillislee.
Gillislee, and generally have had a pretty busy couple days. What do you make of the Patriots' moves the last couple days leading up to the draft?
I love him. I love him. It's staying with the plan, at least the plan for this offseason, it appears. Pedal to the metal. Let's sign Mike Gillislee, a guy that a lot of people pegged to the Patriots earlier in the offseason. He's a good back. He's not as young as I thought, 26 years old, bigger back. So he probably, if he came in and the Bills didn't match and they had a little time to match, I don't think the time is up yet, so they still could match. If he comes in, I wouldn't think LeGarrette Blount would be back. But again, it just goes with the mold this offseason, and I love it. James White re-signed after the Super Bowl he had. Absolutely, give me some more James White. I still think he has some potential to reach, so let's see what he can do. You continue to just make moves, load up, and we'll see what happens with Malcolm Butler. The trade is interesting. Obviously, I would have somewhat of a deadline on the draft, because if you're going to trade him, you'd think you'd want that draft pick back, a first-round pick. The Patriots don't have a pick in the first 2 rounds.
Right.
I believe it's 72 or 73, which is their first pick in the entire draft. So if they trade him, you would think it'd be before the draft. I like the fact that he signed the restricted free agent tender, because that at least puts us kind of back in play.
Right.
Something could happen. He could get traded. He could show up for a workout. Who knows? But I love, overall, this whole offseason, I've loved what the Patriots have done.
Yeah, it reminds me, and we've talked about this in a previous show, it reminds me of the offseason pre-07 when they were all in and they got all those weapons for Brady. And I like them focusing on the running back situation, Burkhead, Gillislee, and you mentioned James White, because that's so integral to their offense in that they can dink and dunk to these guys as pass catchers. And now that you have Cooks on the outside, how are these defenses going to plan for a deep threat? And then the over-the-middle stuff with Edelman and Gronk down the seam, and then you have the running backs doing little bubble screens. Really a dynamic offense. And I'm glad that Malcolm Butler signed his tender. I think this is a formality. The trade goes through with New Orleans unless the Patriots get, wiped off their feet by something else. And I wonder if there's almost a gentleman's agreement already with the Patriots and the Saints for the first round pick, with Butler and Cooks coming here and kind of some things that have already worked themselves out. So I expect Butler to be traded. But everything's looking good so far. I don't know where Blount ends up at this point. He seemingly isn't coming back to the Pats. They probably only offered him the veterans minimum. I would have been okay with they brought back Blount. I like him in the goal line situation. But again, we've talked about this. His performances in Super Bowls, he's not very good in between the 20s anymore. So I'm fine with them moving on from LeGarrette Blount. All right, well, that Bruins game is a couple minutes.
And let me just reiterate this real quick. If they trade Butler, they better get a 1. Better be for at least a first-round pick, if not more.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
All right, well, that Bruins game is about to start, so go enjoy, and we'll see you tonight live on the Sports Wrap. You're not live in the 10A block. Some inside baseball. Sports Wrap. I'll cut the sound back here.
Can we go over the itinerary here? You want to bring Ryan in? All right.
11A block you're in, and 11 Sports.
All right.
How's the food tonight? Did you eat the buffet?
No, I was preparing for this. JP, though, said they had some kind of a pasta, make-your-own pasta thing, so I'll get something after.
All right, good stuff, Mark. Thanks so much for joining us, and catch all the action on WPRI.com and on social media at Mark Dondero, at Yanni Caracas. We'll see you next time.